We got 17 people waiting, man.
All right, here we go.
In a world where Carolina Panthers fans have an insatiable thirst for Panthers news and opinions, only one podcast roars ferociously. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast.
Yo, what's good, Panther fam? It's your boy, Tony Dunn. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions. I'm here tonight with my homeboy, Cody Lashney. How you doing, my man?
Tony Dunn, I've seen a game of Panthers football, so I'm infinitely better than I was than you saw me last Tuesday. Listen, man, I'm ecstatic. There's so much to talk about. The chat room is already lit. Tommy Doc Martin, John Kidco Barrera, Josh from Mass, Adam Sanders. We got a lit chat room with the best Panther fans. Tony Dunn, ain't nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
Tonight's show is Carolina burns Chicago and practices table slamming Buffalo. We're going to be looking at Carolina opening up joint practices with their northern, I guess you would say, twin brother, maybe, or a little brother. There are little brothers, right? They take all our hand-me-downs, all our hand-me-down clothes, second-use stuff, all our old toys. But no, the Panthers
cornerbacks.
Yep. Our old defensive tackles, all types of things. So look, we're going to talk about the joint practices today, from the defense looking tremendous, talent-wise, to Burns tweaking an ankle. We're also going to look back at the Panthers preseason game, and we'll be getting to your cat calls. The number's 252-228-5898. We want to hear what you think about this team after seeing the first little sneak peek at this defense in that preseason game. Some of the questions maybe when it comes to running back. Are you confident that the Panthers can move on from a Cameron Artis-Payne and go with a younger player? Were there any concerns that stuck out to you? All that tonight. So hey, the chat room is killing it, Cody. You were right. So you know what? I know they already have done this. They've already smashed the thumbs up button. They've subscribed. They hit that little notification bell. They make sure they're always part of the longest running Panthers podcast on the internet. And Cody, tonight we are going to slay it.
Yes, we are, man. We're going to slay it just like that defense did. Just like Cam Newton has been doing it in practice, dropping dimes down the field on Curtis Samuel, man. We got a lot to talk about. I think there was a lot to like in that preseason football game. I liked our young guys. I mean, listen, I think we got to shout out Marquise Haynes as someone who looks to be a much better suited player for this new type of defense that we're running. I mean, I think he showed a lot of speed. I mean, as soon as the game started, he's on the football. He has a real knack for playing defensive line. I'm excited. I think this defense has a lot to like about it, and I'm pumped, man. I'm pumped to have so many young, dynamic players on our defense. I have not felt this way about our defense in a very long time, Tony.
Bill Daughtereeve in the chat room with a hold on, Super Troopers reference there. I can't subscribe anymore. I'm already subscribed. I can't pull over. We already pulled over. Schnozberries taste like schnozberries on the C3 Panthers podcast. Thanks for joining us. Remember the cat calls line 252-228-5098. Let's go ahead and start out with joint practices today. Going against Buffalo, there's a familiarity there with our former defensive coordinator going to his third season. Yep. Sean McDermott, now their general manager, was a former assistant GM under us. And why is his name? Billy Bean?
Brandon Bean.
Brandon Bean. Thank you. Billy Bean is
from Moneyball.
Moneyball, exactly.
Yeah, the Oakland.
So, there's some familiarity with this team. It's an AFC team. You've heard that they have been trying to stack some studs on their defensive line. You've heard Buffalo has made some distinct efforts to improve their offensive line. It doesn't really look like it's working that quickly just yet for them, but they're putting the horses in the stable there. So we thought, this kind of seems like a cool, friendly contest. And then all of a sudden, some strange reason, Ron Rivera and then make a giant ordeal about not fighting in practice. I was a little surprised that he felt this so necessary to be old dad over here, telling the boys to calm down before they even got started.
Well, you're in the hot South Carolina sun. You're playing football, blood boils. I think that it's incumbent upon the coach to make sure that everybody keeps a cool, level head. I think he's doing his job. That's what the coach is supposed to do. But I'm excited. I personally love that the NFL does this, that they'll let you train with other teams and you get to go up and let out some aggression and frustration against guys that aren't on your team.
I think you can go harder too without fear of is that you don't want to hurt your own player. Not that you want to hurt somebody else, but and I feel like you're almost like, you step on their toe too much. You're like, sorry, dude. You want to let out some of your aggression, some of your alpha dog. I mean, you're playing football and you get to go up against different schemes and see what their offenses is capable of doing. And you kind of get to pick the brains of other players. And that's something Josh Allen just did. I have a clip that we can play of Josh Allen talking to Luke Kuechly and trying to pick his brain. And since we don't play them during the season, I mean, it's good to test your mettle against other proven players. Now, the Bills are not the most proven team in the world, but they have some talent, and their offense can be a good offense this year with Josh Allen. Let's go here. Let's go ahead and cue that clip up, Cody. Josh Allen, some people said to him that there's comparisons between his game and Cam's. I think that's a little overly friendly to him, but he's got a big arm. He's mobile. He's mobile. If you can I think he could be slightly a sleeper fantasy pick this year.
I do too. And I think Cam Newton.
Zay Jones looks pretty good.
He does. And I think the comparison's kind of half-hearted, depending on who's making it. But they're both big guys with cannons for an arm, and they can take off and run. I mean, he was hurdling Vikings players last year. So I do think that he's definitely got some potential. But shout out to him. He knew that he was going up against one of the best defenders in the NFL in number 59, Luke Kuechly. He decided to pick his brain some.
Obviously, people revere him as one of the smartest guys they've been around football-wise, and I can attest to that. I spent some time with Luke before in the past, just being able to hear him talk about football. I got the chance to talk to him about a certain play after practice here, and just the insight that he has, the knowledge that he has is pretty awesome. And, at the end of the day, we don't really have each other on our schedule, so we're trying to make each other better at the same time. I just kind of went up to him and he said that's a good concept, and we just kind of talked about the hardships for a defense on the certain play and what can make that play not so great.
So it was what you were doing, not what they showed on defense. You were trying to get his opinion on what you guys were showing. Yeah,
just why he did what he did in the certain concept that we ran. He's obviously asking what we're looking at, what our read is. So just a couple words here and there, and like I said, we're trying to make each other better right now.
Yeah, and if you're in his position, man, and listen, I think that kind of underscores something that we really kind of lose sight of. We have the best linebacker in football on our football team. And when you have a player like that, man, Luke Kuechly is such an asset to our defense. I kind of think that one of the things that doesn't get said enough is that part of the reason why we're able to move to a 3-4 or doing more of that in the first place is because we have a linebacker that is so talented in Luke Kuechly that not only can he adjust, but he can be in a position that can handle only one other linebacker next to him. So having that kind of player opens up so much to us.
You're going to hear from Gerald McCoy later praising Luke Kuechly as the best in the game. So it's always good to have Luke Kuechly there, but it's pretty good having Cam Newton on the other side. Cody, Cam Newton seems to be lighting it up. Him and Curtis Samuel continue to be toast of the town there. I mean, Cam, we talked about this extensively over the last couple of weeks, that how nice it is to see just Cam connect on the deep ball. But right now it seems like he can't miss on the deep ball. This is the type of stuff we want to see. Go ahead and cue that video up while we talk about it.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to
So, you're going to see some of these highlights of what Cam is doing. Well, I think the one pass to Curtis Samuel was from Cam. I'm not sure the Manhurts catch.
Yeah,
was.
man. And look at this though, man. I mean, and it was a good play by the linebacker and coverage on Christian. But man, Cam Newton is throwing tight spirals. Oh, this is look. He goes to do the jump and just homeboy.
I want to celebrate with the quarterback instead.
And yeah, Dante Jackson, who will show you some more plays of. Him and James Bradbury have been out there making some plays.
Reid,
Avenue. Yeah, I mean, our defensive backfield looks much improved. And this bomb
here it is.
Right
here it is.
Here,
oh my gosh.
Cam Newton just dropping dimes.
Cam Newton can do everything.
Cam Newton is, I mean, listen, man. A few other people were saying that maybe Cam Newton wasn't healthy, or there were reports. I think it was kind of overblown that Cam Newton missed the first preseason game. A lot of teams didn't play their starters. Listen, man, after you see Cam Newton throwing a pass like that down the field, I mean, I don't know what's left to wonder about. That's the exact kind of plays that we weren't able to put on the field last season. And you see him just dropping these dimes, man, the tightest spirals. There's no wobble to the football. I mean, come on. That's vintage Cameron Newton.
Yeah. Mad thanks to Renard Hussey giving a donation to the podcast, supporting independent creators. We love that. Thank you for your support. Keep pounding. Thanks to everybody in the chat room. Remember, the cat calls line is 252-228-5098. We want to hear what stood out to you from this preseason game. What's exciting to you about this camp? And Cody, I tell you this is, I think, and I'm trying to remember your exact words, is what more can you ask for, or what more can you want to see? And I think what we're really seeing too is important is just not only Cam throwing the ball, but someone on the other side catching the damn ball. And Curtis Samuel has caught everything in his area code, and his area code is broad. He covers, his zip code is big, brother. It covers a whole field in like 4 seconds. Curtis Samuel, I drafted him high in fantasy in a keeper league. I picked him, I think, in the 4th round, beginning of the 4th round, which is important to me. I think I may have gotten a number 1 wide receiver in the 4th round. Curtis Samuel, dude, so fast, so amazing. If he can be the guy that you have been saying he is, Cody, boy, it could be electric, him and McCaffrey on that field with Cam Newton.
Just dynamic, man. I'm a firm believer. I believe that, I'll say it again, I think Curtis Samuel is going to be our number 1 wide receiver. I believe he is. You're talking about a guy that ran a 4.31 at the combine, runs incredible routes, gets great separation from the defenders. He knows what he's doing, and now him and Cam Newton are building that connection. They're on the same page with one another. I'm telling you, man, we have not had that type of player since Ted Ginn Jr., and Curtis Samuel has all the makings to be every kind of receiver that Ted Ginn could never be. I mean, he's dynamic, fast, powerful. It almost makes me nervous how much potential and excitement I see coming from him this training camp. I'm like, is there any way possible it can live up to the amount of hype that we're feeling right now? And I certainly hope so, man. I mean, how could you not love what you're seeing from this young player? I love it.
This is good news, people.
Good news.
Good news, people. Thank you, President Obama. I think it is good news, and it's a good problem to have, Cody, but I do understand what you're talking about, the fear of these building expectations. You know what I'm saying? Because we do want to manage our expectations in some way, but we don't want to manage our excitement. That's how we're going to phrase it on this podcast. We're not managing our excitement because we are exuberant with our excitement of what Curtis Samuel could be. We do have to be cautious. You know, we have to see him endure an entire season. Yeah. But, you know, he said that this is part of his cycle, it seemed like, in his life. And that is that he gets hurt his 2nd year and his 3rd year. He said this happened to him in high school football, college, and in the pros. but I think it's the confidence that we're seeing, the sureness we're seeing. I think now you finally can understand, Cody, when coaches talk about the game slowing down for players. The guys that have that that speed that he has, the lightning speed,
the burst,
their mind has to be as fast as their feet.
Yeah.
And, sometimes that's a little difficult in the early stages of their career. But I think now Curtis Samuel's mind, or his awareness of the game, his feel, his confidence, or however you want to phrase it, has caught up with those quick feet. And boy, he could be fast out the gate.
So fast. And listen, the route running is the most important thing. And people have kind of, noticed as I've gotten on to DJ Moore a little bit. And again, this is not Curtis Samuel versus DJ Moore.
Right.
Praising one is not shitting on the other one.
Exactly.
DJ Moore is going to be fantastic. But Curtis Samuel understands some of the nuances of the route running and the techniques in ways that DJ just doesn't yet. I mean, DJ is fast down the field also, and I'm hoping that we use him in those kind of scenarios as well. But on comeback routes and curls and in cuts, Curtis Samuel has that ability to stop on a dime and cut and turn the other direction. And that's something that DJ just hasn't displayed yet. It doesn't mean that you can't get that later on or that we can't utilize him in other ways. But you have to have this kind of receiver on the football team. Curtis Samuel right now represents everything that Kelvin Benjamin and Devin Funchess never were for us. Never were.
Well, of course. He never could be, never thought they could be. Curtis Samuel, to me, what I like about Curtis Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore, I think we could, it could be the next evolution of the game.
Yeah.
Or maybe not evolution of the game, but trend in personnel decisions and different things of how the game's played. Look, it just turns out that Kelvin Benjamin and Devin Funchess are busts. Curtis Samuel doesn't look like he is. And if you can, like you said, it's not a comparison between Curtis Samuel and DJ Moore. Instead, what would be awesome is, what if those dudes both developed like sick games right beside each other, and then within I think we're talking later on is which one do you got to keep, and that's the conversation we want to be having.
Yeah, and they're a year apart from one another too, so you're gonna have to pay one, and then Curtis doesn't have a fifth-year contract because he's a second pay. So yeah, we're gonna and this is his third year, so technically Curtis has
only one more year.
Yeah, only one more after this one. He had an injury plagued first season, and then last year he was good, but Cam was hurt.
Well, he had the heart
condition. Yeah, it was a big deal. So I mean, not only are you talking about a player that shows a ton of potential, but you're talking about a player that knows that now he has a relatively short window to prove that he's going to be worth the amount of money that he's going to be up for in 2 years. So that's even added motivation for him and Cam Newton, which, by the way, Cam Newton was trying to get Kelvin Benjamin paid. So listen, Cam's your best friend. Cam knows that if you're trying to get paid, he's going to put the ball in your direction. And
well, I tell you what, as Lee Trotter said he said, like Olsen said in All or Nothing, just put the ball in Curtis Samuel's hands. He's going to score every time. And the reason I bring that comment up is too because he got Olsen paid twice.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? I mean, and not that Olsen didn't deserve any of it. He earned every bit of it. But look, you never hear Olsen bad-mouthing Cam. He knows where his bread's buttered. Right. Thanks, William Robertson, for your support of the C3 Panthers podcast. Go ahead and smash that thumbs up button to the rest of you listening. Hit the subscribe. I know I'm just preaching to the choir. I'm really preaching to people that are going to watch this video later on, or begging them, right? Celebrate the Panthers with us. In other news of this joint camp, Cody, is Trey Boston joins the number ones on this defense, seemingly rounding out the defensive backfield. You were talking about how they were looking better. Today he joined the number ones. And, short notice coming into that preseason game, Trey Boston's still an important. At the very worst, Trey Boston is a good signing by Marty Hurney and continuing to try to address a weakness on the team going into this. That's news out of this, as well as Burns tweaks his ankle a little bit. Nobody thinks it's anything serious necessarily. I haven't heard any reports, but ice, injury tent, take a break, fast man.
Yeah, and then last week he got hurt on some play too, and then kind of went off the sideline and then came back. I don't know. We don't have any news on it right now. The only thing, listen, you have to pray it's not a high ankle injury. Those are the worst ones. Those are the ones that you fear. Those are the ones that take a long time for defensive linemen to kind of heal from and come back from. But there's no indication right now what kind of injury it was for Brian Burns. For Brian Burns. So we don't know. We're just going to have to wait to hear some more. And what was the first part of your question?
The other was Trey Boston starting.
Yeah, Trey Boston. And listen, I think I said this last time we did this, that Trey Boston, when he was with Kurt Coleman, we were playing Kurt Coleman at free safety and Trey Boston in the box. And I think whenever we were talking about Trey Boston not being a surefire tackler, I just don't think that he's a box safety in his nature. He's a free safety. And now that we have Eric Reid on the team, Trey Boston gets to play a much more natural position for him. So this is perfect. I mean, you look at James Bradbury, Dante Jackson, Eric Reid. Now Trey Boston is safety. I'm going to call my shot and say Javian Elliott wins the nickel corner position. And damn, all of a sudden we have a defensive backfield, Tony Dunn.
Talk about this defense. I want you guys to hear Gerald McCoy. I think it was, hold on. MJD, Maurice Jones-Drew, Tiffany Blackman showed up at practice today. They caught up with Gerald McCoy, and we're asking him some questions. I think it can provide some insight into what we're just working with on this defense.
Okay, guys, it's Nova Black again.
That's Nova Black.
Through the rest of my
is talking about running multiple fronts.
Absolutely.
How is that going to help you and your abilities to get to the quarterback?
Oh, I believe if you're a football player, they put you on the grass, you'll make it work, especially as a defensive lineman. So whether you're 1, 3, 5, 4-eye, head up 4, 9 technique, it don't matter. If you can play, you can play. So they brought me in to help the team. That's what I'm going to do.
Something you talked about was the amount of weapons that this defense has. Absolutely. And how in your career, you have no problem with facing double teams because it frees things up for other guys. But now you look at this team and the talent that they have. I mean, what kind of problems are opposing offense is going to face?
Well, it's going to take a lot of work from us, working day in and day out. For me, especially, one of the big reasons I came here is to get to work against Trey Turner every day. He's an all-pro offensive lineman, and we going head to head every day. So I'm making him better. He's making me better. But to your point, I'm used to getting the double teams. Well, with this group, anybody can get double. So, it's like pick your poison. You double him, then all these guys got one-on-ones. We got 6, 7 guys that can all win one-on-ones. So, we got a lot of work to put in. But when we get it rolling, it's going to be scary.
Now,
boy.
Scary, man.
Oh, boy. Well, that's what we've been saying. That's what we've been saying. Not that we're breaking news here. But you were putting some this scheme, I think, is going to really place some pressure on opposing offenses and how they're going to have to protect. And then not to forget, there's some pretty good linebackers flying around behind him. But, just think about this, is that Gerald McCoy here, and let me read you these quotes. This is from the practice today. From the reported from the athletic.com. I think this is Joe Person writing this, but it's a quote from fullback Patrick DeMarco. He says Gerald McCoy is a monster in that 3 technique, just causes havoc. They're going to be a good up front. A whole front 8. They put 8 guys in the box and try to funnel in and let Luke and Shaq run around and make plays. So it's going to be a tough front. When you hear that, when you hear that, when you think of quietly how Bruce Irvin, who has just been a that's what he is a pass rusher. When you see the potential in Brian Burns, when you get the studs of Gerald McCoy, and then you hear Gerald McCoy say this, Cody.
I mean, it's like pick your poison. You double him, then all these guys got guys that can all win one-on-one. So, I mean, we got a lot of work to put in, but when we get it rolling, it's going to be scary.
It's going to be scary.
Now, this defense, and we were going over with Andrew Siciliano. You guys have 8 first-rounders on there. You're talking about the talent. Who's the best one?
I don't think we're going to go into that.
I mean, it's a lot of talent out here.
It is.
On the line, linebackers, safeties, corners. Who's the best one?
Luke Kuechly is the best in the game at what he does, so I'm going to give it to Luke.
Yeah.
You've heard that probably before, but now being –
All right. I got a message notification somewhere, but I don't see anything. You didn't try to send me nothing, did you?
No, I think that recorded when you.
Oh, you're right. That was.
Yeah, I probably messaged you right as you were recording that.
Yeah. Okay. So look, 8 number 1 picks on that team, and then Luke Kuechly there, the best in the game. Gerald McCoy said, he goes on. You hear him talk about it. He says it's one thing to see it from afar, but it is nothing less than he lives up to all the hype essentially to see it in person every day.
I love it, man. I love it so much. And then listen, let's just give the people what they want, man, because this is what they're all talking about in the chat room. Let's talk about the first round pick that really matters. That's on the tip of everyone's tongue. That's on everyone's mind. It's this man, baby. It's Brian Burns with the fantastic play in the preseason. My man had 2 sacks, hit him with the Spider-Man pose at the end. And, man, it's just a thing of beauty. And earlier in the game, it hit him with a beautiful inside spin move. I'm going to try and break this down as much as I can with the shindig here. But Brian Burns is able to analyze the play and see that it's the quarterback is rolling to the right. He's able to contain. And then he's able to get by the tight end and use a swipe maneuver. He has so much speed and agility. He's able to get by him and get to the quarterback for the sack. Brian Burns is the real deal. Earlier in the night, he hit him with a big-time spin maneuver and got back to the inside and had another sack. Brian Burns is special, man. Brian Burns can be a truly transformative pass rusher on our defense, and everyone's excited about what he showed that he was able to do. It's everything that he did at Florida State that I told you all about.
Giant thanks to Susan Dean, regular contributor and supporter of the C3 Panthers podcast. We're here live at 9 p.m. every Tuesday night, chopping up the latest Panthers news and opinions with you. You can call into the Cat Calls line. The number is 252-228-5098. Cody, I mean, you're talking about not only from Luke Kuechly to Gerald McCoy to KK. KK is a second-round pick on that team, and he's devastating. Eric Reid. And it was, I think, Big Daddy P in the chat room brings up a good point. We haven't seen Eric Reid as best in our defense.
No.
And here's the thing is somebody said that Trey Boston was trash in the chat room. And look, to be honest, I can't really fight you overly too much on that. I would ragged on him pretty hard when he was here. But, he has had some success. I think this is that he's better than what we had before. But if you're thinking about this, is that we've heard people try to say that Reid isn't worth the money, that he can't cover as well as they say he can. And even if he isn't as great as the greatest safety in the history of the world, like Ed Reed type stuff or something, all of a sudden, he's still like a very strong asset to this team. So that's where I'm looking at here. Is that the weakness? Now there may be a weakness on the defense, and right now we have unknowns at corner, at nickel corner. The question is, will Dante Jackson continue to blossom as we think he would? Will Bradbury play well? But all these guys are trending in the right direction at this point. I think the only question mark is what do we do at nickel corner, and what happens if we sustain any injury in the secondary or linebacker position. Overall, this is a damn talented front in a scheme. And I was looking on Reddit, Cody. They broke down. Someone was talking about the 3-4. Are we really a hybrid? This or that? The conversation we've had. We played a ton of nickel. That was it. We played mostly nickel. But when we weren't in nickel, we were in 3-4. I think the scheme, man, is going to generate a lot of problems. If we can stay healthy, this defense is going to be exciting.
I mean, I have not been this, in the preseason, I have not been this excited about the Panthers defense. And I thought I was last year. And, maybe it's just I missed the Panthers. I want some Panthers football in my life. I want to think that it's more than that. But, man, when you look at everything that we've done and all the players that we've brought in, I mean, and listen, we're not done. These guys, they can win in multiple different ways. So look how fast Brian Burns, this was today. Look how fast Brian Burns is able to move. I mean, he's able to get around the tackle with just the greatest of ease, man. He's so fast. He's so agile. He's so mobile. And then you realize that we drafted another young buck.
This is exciting right here. The ferociousness. Do you got this clip of Christian Miller?
Yeah, I do. If I can find it. Here we go.
Look at the ferociousness of this hand swipe. Or what do you call that move? What is that, a club?
Let me see it again.
The straight club, the right-handed club. Look at how ferocious, strong, man.
Yeah, he just clubs the hand down, dips and rips, and then he's getting after the quarterback, man. And listen, that's the kind of talent that we saw from him at Alabama. And that's not even talking about Mario Addison. That's not even talking about Bruce Irvin. So I'm going to really pinpoint what we're talking about here. We're going to be able to take dominant pass rushers off the field and replace them with other dominant pass rushers. I mean, I know we love to shit on the guy, but we also have Vernon Butler, who's still trying to prove that he's worthy of an NFL career. Kyle Love is still on the football team. We have rotational depth on our defensive line like we have not had in such a long time.
It's almost going to be hard. Some tough decisions are probably going to exist on that defensive front at some point. Is that how many guys can you have? This is a good problem to have. We love it. We got what a makeover on defense so quickly. All right, Cody, let's go ahead and break to the cat calls and see what they want to talk about. And then we'll come back and we'll talk after the cat calls and maybe some of these topics for later in the show. Eric Reid continues to be drug tested randomly on the regular. So let's think about that. Random, regular. Drug tests for PED performance. Graham Gano's leg is sore, and Sly is kicking and already creating controversy among us. Graham Gano doubters, and then we're going to be talking about preseason as well. But before that, let's get into your cat calls. C3 Podcast. The number's 252-228-5098.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty. You shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like.
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his nose? Who's that kid that can use one?
What's up, T3? This is Kenny out of Greensboro. I found you guys about a month ago because my job put me on the road a little bit more, and every time I get in my van, I check to see if there's a new C3 first before any other podcast. So kudos to you guys.
Thank you.
You guys are doing great.
Shout out to you.
I just had a comment and a question. My comment is, I don't know if you guys have checked it out, but I don't know if Madden does this every year, but this year they basically put the schedule in for all the teams. I didn't watch any of them but the Panthers, but they put the schedule in, and they basically let the computer play the game. I won't tell you guys the outcome, but I would tell you to go check it out. It's pretty cool.
Okay.
Hopefully it's a good sign of things to come for this year. The other thing, my question was, switching to this new defensive scheme, the 3-4. I don't really know. I haven't really ever seen or heard about, offenses looking at a whole lot of tape. I would assume that they do, but with us switching to this new 3-4 defense, I would assume that would mean that there's no tape, for opposing offenses to view to kind of get a game plan together because, they don't know what kind of scheme that we're wanting to run. I don't know if that's a legitimate question, just something I was kind of thinking about. So if you guys could dig in that a little bit deeper and, kind of explore that a little bit, I'd be grateful. Looking forward to the next one, guys. Thanks.
Man, thank you so much for the support of the show. Tremendous question as well, Cody. And it brings up something that sometimes we're high on this and low on it, or we're just not thinking about. But you do have to keep this in mind while you're talking about. We talk about how these guys study film over and over and over, right? And that's where they win the battles. He's right. They don't have anything. I bet you that offenses are going to have to go back and look at Ron Rivera's 3-4 defense while he was in San Diego to maybe get an idea of some of the things that they like to do in those sets. But I think another example of this too, or something to think about, Cody, is that we are, and you see this more on offense than you see it on defense, but I could see the same theory applying, and that is you don't show your cards too early, and you save cards. You remember Norv Turner saved a bunch of things for like week 3 and week 4 in that offense last year. The defense, that is going to be advantageous. Cody, how do you prepare? I guess you maybe look at some other teams, what are similar, running similar schemes, maybe some players that have similar skill sets, but maybe I'm right. Maybe they're going to go back to that San Diego tape and try to learn Ron Rivera.
So first, shout out to Kenny, man. Thank you for the love. Thank you for supporting the podcast, man. We love calls like that. Telling us that you guys like what we're doing. We love you. Shout out to the C3 fans. And listen, man, Ron Rivera isn't reinventing the wheel. So we're using a 3-4. A lot of other teams have used it. There are variations and different packages, but overall, even though they might have other teams on tape and what they do, every defense is different because you have players at different positions that are stronger than on other teams. So, for example, I already mentioned Luke Kuechly earlier. We have the benefit of having a linebacker like that where, really, we're in a situation where we can put more outside linebackers as pass rushers because we have Luke in the middle. And then, as Gerald McCoy said in that clip that we played, we have so many different players that are capable of winning a one-on-one matchup. So, they're not going to be able to game plan for our defense as easily as they have done it in the past. As film accrues on what we're doing and what we'd like to do, this should change and get a little harder down the season, specifically in fall football months around October and November. That's when teams are really going to kind of have a beat on what your defense does. But as of right now, my excitement comes from the personnel on our defense, that we have so many different players that we're able to rotate in and put in advantageous positions, put Gerald McCoy, K1 Short on one-on-one matchups, and we should have a potent pass rush.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
You shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you
Tony Dunn. And our defensive backfield, James Bradbury and Dante Jackson. That corner, and that's another thing to mention. All the reports are saying that now that we've been playing more man coverage, that James Bradbury has excelled and looked better than he has before. So it's not so much the 3-4 alignment that excites me about this season. It's the matchups that we're going to be able to put on the field. And I love it. I'm pumped.
Well, I did hear Ron Rivera speaking on the 3-4 defense and the guys that they're getting. He did raise a point where, there's just more Brian Burns
Yeah.
These days than there are Julius Peppers. There are more Brian Burns than there are Charles Johnsons. And I mean, if you think about the Farrell, some of the other guys that are, there were several dudes just like Brian Burns, and they have been in the past. So if those are the types of guys coming out of college, you don't want to keep passing on that talent in hopes of getting something that fits what you think is the most ideal. You want to get the best players on the field as early as possible.
You have to be able to adapt.
I'm interested. Oh, so the Super Bowl this year is going to be in Miami. Okay. So going to his first point about the Madden simulations, I've seen two things. I saw that the Panthers go to the Super Bowl in one simulation. Spoiler alert if you're going to watch this like a television show. And it looks like they win 31-34. Panthers champions, world champions right there over the Patriots.
Yeah, I can see that. I already have my Super Bowl prediction, by the way, but I feel like I'll save that for a later podcast.
Yeah, but that's a good way. That's a way I would like for us to hoist the Lombardi. I also saw another simulation where they had the Saints and the Chargers in the Super Bowl, but Cam Newton was the NFL MVP.
Fuck that. We've already been there and done that. Listen,
yeah.
If Cam Newton never wins another MVP but goes on to win us another 4 or 5 Super Bowls, dude, fucking NFL MVP, man. Pardon my language. We're not in this for MVPs. I'm sure Cam Newton, despite what some of his haters might think and say, is not in this for the MVP awards. He's trying to win with the Carolina Panthers and bring home championships. And I think we got the roster to do it.
Oh, speaking of Susan, who is our Cam Newton personal entourage reporter,
yes.
Cody sent me a tweet the other day, Susan, that it looks like there could be, once again, trouble in paradise between Cam Newton and Kia Proctor. Calling people clowns, crazy stuff is going down there. Cam Newton, go celibate, win the Super Bowl, and then do whatever you want. All right, you're listening to C3 Panthers podcast. Here we go with the cat calls. Continue through.
Hey, guys, it's Tyler again. I am the caller who got ridiculed last time, but you know what? I'm calling this time on a more positive note.
There you go. Come on back, Tyler, for more.
Just want to talk about our preseason game and some positives that I took away from it.
All right.
Brian Burns is a monster, man. Brian Burns is awesome.
He is.
Him and Haynes, I think those could be the two outside linebackers of the future right there. Golden, Rashawn Golden, he
actually
had a
played all right.
game, man.
Yeah.
Had a forced fumble. He was all over the field. He looked good.
And he got hurt again.
Also, Cameron Artis-Payne is the preseason king. Cameron Artis-Payne looks like the best running back in football every preseason.
He's so
And
right.
I really want to get your guys' take on why Cameron Artis-Payne hasn't seen the field any more than what he had.
Oh,
that's what I did.
Last year, he had a monster preseason. And I thought, honestly, when we let C.J. Anderson go, that it was to free up some playing time for Cameron Artis-Payne, but he really didn't see the field at all last year. So I just want to hear what you guys think on that. Keep pounding.
Oh, Tyler. Great call, Tyler. We're not in the ridicule game. We're just in the Cam Newton worship game. Thank you for calling, Tyler. And you know, he's right. Brian Burns, you're talking about go in there, play a couple of snaps, you get 2 sacks. We like that. Marquise, I think the telling thing about the Marquise Haynes, as well as was a linebacker, they played like the entire game.
Yeah.
And Rivera's like, this is opportunity. You know what I mean? These are the type of players that the preseason's built for.
Yeah, it really is, man. And listen, I think that Marquise Haynes really taking a step forward. How huge is that? Even, you know, in spite of the fact that we've brought in and drafted all these other talented pass rushers. Like, we have someone that we drafted last year, so not the most recent draft, but the one before that. And now he looks like a monster as well.
How are we getting a glut? You know, where it's like a glut of the wealth of riches, the spoils of riches. You're right. I was really excited, especially because we said last week, Cody, too, that Marquise Haynes was a guy that, you know, you weren't hearing about yet.
Right. And Ron Rivera did say that they did have a lot of hope for him that he can be a contributor in this offense. And I mean, people do forget that Marquise Haynes beat Greg Hardy's Ole Miss sack record. Marquise Haynes has the most sacks out of any defensive lineman that's ever been to Ole Miss. So the dude has a ton of potential, crazy talent. Listen, we have the pantry is full. Put it that way.
Yeah.
We have food on top of food on top of food. Bring over your mom and them. We're gonna make some green beans, some macaroni and cheese. We're gonna fry up some shit. We're gonna have a good time. We're gonna go to the Super Bowl in Miami, baby. Keep pounding. That's what we're gonna do.
All right, Cameron Artis Payne. Cody, after the game, the next day I checked Twitter. And I saw Cap getting all the carries in the beginning. I saw him catching the ball, getting in space, moving the pile a little bit. The times he got swallowed up, it didn't look like he was missing holes. I would say he looked a hair slower than he has in the past, But Cameron Artis Payne is always on this team, but never sees the field. He's exactly right. He is a preseason warrior, and I was surprised to see the next day Pat Coltrane, who is also a Panthers YouTuber, very popular. Go check out his show and subscribe to him as well. Pat Coltrane, he said, "Man, I'm sorry, but Cap, I think we're going to be saying goodbye to you soon." Or he said something to that effect. And he likes Cameron Artis Payne. He likes Cap, but you had Holyfield do some things in that game. You've got Bonifan, who looks like Bonifan reminds me of like was it Jeremy Hill? Who was that dude that played for the Bengals and then went to the Patriots? I think it's something Hill.
Yeah, anyway, I do think Jeremy Hill.
Right, and then we didn't even see Jordan Scarlett. Then you continue to think about the fact that Cameron Artis Payne has never played. He barely even gets a helmet. And then the conversation immediately opened that Cameron Artis Payne could be a cap casualty, somebody that's going to get cut for these rookies. I don't know why, man. I do not know why. I don't know why people actually dislike Cameron Artis Payne. I think it was very strange that people are like, yeah, it's time to move on, like he's been a negative to our team. No. Every opportunity he gets out there, he pretty much performs well. He had one fumble when he was a rookie, and everybody's still saying something about that. I don't know, Cody. The only thing I continue to think of at this point is I thought before that he was in the doghouse because he slept with Ron Rivera's daughter. But now, since they won't,
that's your conspiracy theory.
Yeah, well, here it is. Next level, Cody.
Oh, okay.
Is now that they can't get rid of Cameron Artis Payne. They treated him like dog shit for so long, but then they keep him around. He's actually the baby daddy.
Yeah, yeah, he can't go nowhere. Yeah, he's got to pitch off.
Now you got to stay around. Now you have to stay. That's your punishment.
You have to stay. Listen, man. I mean,
trade him to Buffalo. Josh from Mass and Audley later is saying.
Yeah, trade him to Buffalo. Listen, man, I don't know what else to say about Cameron at this point. If I'm just being real, I don't think he has a future with the Panthers, or else he would have kind of had something going by now. I do think it's interesting. Okay, so Tony, let me ask you this real fast. Do you think there's a chance Elijah Holyfield or Jordan Scarlett has been kind of hurt, but Elijah Holyfield looked good, and he's got a famous dad, and we all like to talk about the real deal. And I was a fan of Elijah in college, and I don't know, at this point, I just don't know if Cameron Artis Payne offers a lot more than a younger Elijah Holyfield does. So, I mean, maybe let him go somewhere else. I don't know if it saves money or not to have him on the football team, but I don't know. Cameron's not doing anything here.
So I kind of got into this conversation with some heavy hitters in Panther Twitter, right? Some people that, follow the team very closely. And
yeah,
I've come to some disagreements with them on Cameron Artis Payne. And one of them lends to a comment that J-Dub said just a moment ago. He said that Cap isn't that great at pass protection. And the team has historically been very concerned with putting running backs out there that were rookies in the past. They've also always, it's been those cases where they have to be in pass protection that seem to be problematic for rookie running backs. You know, it's not usually a problem of them seeing the hole and running as fast as they can and getting yards. It's when they don't have the ball in their hand, what do they do, and are they not a liability? And to point out that Cameron Artis-Payne, I won't say missed the pass protection, but we faked the handoff to the right. The pressure came from the left, but he didn't see it coming. It was hard for him to see it, but still, you hope to get some hands on that guy coming. So here, a lot of the people were saying that they could see Cameron Artis-Payne gone. And I can understand that, hey, he hasn't done much for the staff. It's a 1-year deal. It's not like he's going to be here forever, that type of thing. But why would they put so much stock in a rookie if when you do get your number called, you're likely not going to just be a bell cow running back? You know what I'm saying? You need a guy that can come in when McCaffrey's not. And I'm not saying cut the other guys, but don't you think it's a little wild to think that we're going to go into this season with Christian McCaffrey and a rookie, and that's it? I think that's a little wild of a thought, and we don't have another veteran presence there. I think that Cameron Artis-Payne, just him being knowledgeable of situations, puts him ahead of the other guys, even if they're more talented at this moment in their careers.
Yeah. And it's like I said, they're younger guys. They don't necessarily have as much wear and tear. Granted, Cameron Artis-Payne never played a whole lot anyway, so he doesn't have a lot of wear and tear. And
well rested.
And he's a veteran. People know him. Yeah, man, listen, I'm not necessarily like I said, I wish him the best. I don't know if he's ever going to contribute anything meaningful to this.
Sure.
But yeah, I just.
Do you feel comfortable though cutting him and going into the season with Christian McCaffrey, Alex Arma, Holyfield, and say Scarlett?
Yeah, I don't even know.
A lot of running backs on the team too, by the way.
I don't even know if we keep that many. I wouldn't be surprised if it's McCaffrey, maybe Holyfield, Arma, and see maybe in that scenario, I could see them. Maybe deciding to hold on to him just because they know he's been around. But other than that, man,
he did kick returns in that preseason game. I just find it weird too that people shit on Cameron Artis-Payne, and you're not doing that right now, but people kind of like throw these jabs at him, and I don't think they're warranted. Just because, like he said, he's a preseason hero. He's the running back version of Damiere Byrd. But not hurt all the time. But thanks for the call, man. Don't worry. Your ridicule was only temporary as you were spewing. Not spewing, as you were talking about Cam being distracted because we didn't overreacted. See you later. Thank you, Tyler.
What's up, guys? It's Nick, a.k.a. 7 Flat Crawlers, checking in from Western Mass. Hey, Cody, you got your wish, man. Brian Burns sacked the QB. Second quarter, 11:40 left. But my question would be, shouldn't that be ruled a fumble? Because there was forward motion on his arm. So let me know what you guys think. Love the show. Listen every week. Talk to you guys soon. Keep on it.
There's questions, too, about the other one where what's his name jumped up and swatted it.
Yeah, listen, if it's in the middle of a game, yeah, I'm a little bit pissed off, and I do kind of think that it should have gone the other way. But I'm glad that the caller mentioned that because not only did I get my wish with Brian Burns, but Brian Burns was able to get 2 sacks in under 10 snaps. In under 10 snaps against their first team offense. Now, granted, the Bears aren't playing all of their starting offensive linemen, but that was their first team that they trotted out on the field. The guys that they're hoping to be the depth behind their starters, and Brian Burns and Marquise Haynes were able to do what they did. Absolutely fantastic, man. There's some new rule changes this year. Listen, officiating all year is going to be up and down, and just like every year in the NFL, it's going to drive you up a freaking wall. We're going to get some plays in our favor. We're going to have some plays that go the other way. I don't know, man. As long as our players are minding their P's and Q's and doing their due diligence on the field, I'm not too worried about the refs. I think we're going to be good to go.
Let me tell you this: is the first sack by Burns is not going to happen in the NFL on a regular basis, and I think that was the spin move where they just were kind of standing there. The play had slowed down in development.
Don't doubt Spider-Man now. You never know.
And then
Burns might be the truth.
But you know, I mean, hey, you can't hate the guy for just doing. That's the nasty one right there. That's the one where he made 49 look silly. That's the one that means to me how his speed can be deceptive, and to a certain degree. What? Up, jigga jagga, boom, awesome.
He's so dynamic. And by the way, listen, we might as well just start calling him Spider-Man, because he's already made it a thing that whenever he gets a sack in the NFL, he's doing a brand new Spider-Man pose. I love it, man. We got Peter Parker on the offensive line. I'm good to go. We got nothing but superheroes on the football team.
Man, it's wonderful.
Super Cam, Captain America. Our team's just a bunch of heroes, man. I mean, what you going to do when you play the Panthers?
Yeah. All right, you're listening to the C3 Panthers podcast. The Cat Calls line, the number's 252-228-5098. Over 60 viewers tonight's show. The chat room is popping. Make sure you smash that thumbs up button. If you're listening on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcast, rate, review. Or the best thing you can do is just take the link to the show or to the podcast, however you hear us, see us, and come into contact with us and send it to one Panther friend. One Panther fan at a time. We're building a grand community here. You guys know what it's about. Thank you for your support. Let's keep going with these Cat Calls line. The Cat Calls line.
Hey, Tony, I don't know if you know this or not, but last Wednesday after the podcast on WFNZ, the Mac Chat gave you a shout-out. Thought that was pretty cool. All right, bye.
Yeah, thank you. I shoot Mac an email every now and then when I'm listening, and I think he liked one of the points that I was talking about. Maybe what was it? Oh, it was. I think it had to do with that old D'Angelo Williams nonsense. Which, by the way, the D'Angelo Williams nonsense got worse and worse and worse. Like, he went on the radio. I don't know if we got to talk about it, and we're not going to give it any time, but he continued to double and triple down and say some bizarre stuff. D'Angelo Williams, you suck. You suck. Thanks for the call. The number's 252-228-5098. Oh, we got a prank call.
What?
Let's see what it says. Let me see.
Hey, C3 is Nova Black.
I think that's Cantonese.
Whoa. You're going to let her say that about your mom, Tony?
Hey, C3 is Nova Black. How you guys doing? Glad to be back on. I know it's been a while.
Man.
I had a lot of personal things going on, and I had to really catch up. But one thing I did do was watch that first preseason game, and I got a couple takeaways from the game, and I'm gonna try to keep it under 3 minutes. So I'm gonna start with Brian Burns is as advertised, and I think the kid played like 12, 13 snaps, I ain't sure, but got 2 sacks. And I like the fact that he's playing smart football, because when he ran into the running back trying to chip him off, he spent back because he could see that the pocket was collapsing, and like the B gap was the only place for the quarterback to come out of.
Sees it different than
and
me.
He's
He's
seen
right.
that, and he came back around and to close that gap, and the quarterback ran right into him. Marquise Haynes, he had a pretty good night, 2 sacks as well. But Haynes played a bunch of downs, I think, when in the 4-3, and I'm gonna get to that. And he missed some assignments, and like I said, when it comes to the 4-3, those guys miss the assignments, like they're setting the edge on the run plays and stuff like that, versus how they handled it on the 3-4. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Elijah Holyfield, the dude stood out. Cameron Artis-Payne, he made a couple plays, but Alex Armour, showed that he probably had more value than Cameron Artis-Payne. I like how Holyfield, even though after the fumble, he kept his head in the game. He stayed in there. When it came to the offensive line, I think the offensive line play, the backup was pretty decent. I saw some mental mistakes in the run blocking and the pass blocking assignments. Basically, you want to call it what it is. Blown assignments, that led to guys getting in the backfield quicker than expected.
Yeah.
Larson is the reason
And
Will
some poor
Greer took one
execution
on
Greg Little's
chin.
behalf. I also,
I
see the quarterback battle between Kyle Allen and Will Greer. Both of them had to warm up, and then they basically tightened it back up, had some high balls, and Will Greer got baptized by fire with that interception.
Yo.
And, we coming up on 3 minutes, but I got a couple of more things and I'm going to call back and run through them real quick.
All right, let's hear this before we go on to the next part of the call. You know what is when you put it like that about the Brian Burns sack, maybe there's something to it more than it just being an opportunity where it was an opportunity play, but he saw it. The other thing that I'm interested in about that call, Cody, is let's talk about this, the offensive line.
Yeah.
What do you think of Greg Little's play?
So Greg Little started, in my opinion, very bad. He was getting beat a lot to the outside. And there were a few plays that I specifically remember died because of him. He just couldn't follow his man to the outside. Later on, he did recover. I believe, I didn't grab the video, but Billy Marshall on Twitter uploaded a clip of all of the snaps that Greg Little played. And it kind of showed what I'm thinking. Earlier in the beginning, he was kind of rusty. And then later on, he really got the hang of it. And he actually made some key blocks and picked up some blitzers and did well. And by the way, that's fine. I'm not complaining about that either, because me and Tony have said before, offensive line, especially for the rooks, it's so hard to pick up. There's so many new things that Greg Little is trying to learn and understand that he never had to do at that Ole Miss offense. So it's the preseason. If Greg Little is going to get his ass whooped, I want it to be in preseason when it doesn't matter. And it's going to happen during the games too. But I do think he's living up to the promise. He just needs more polish.
Yeah. And what I liked about, and I think Billy Marshall described it as a mixed bag in a good way. Like in that, hey, yeah, there's some plays where he doesn't look fantastic. There's some plays where he looks pretty good or okay. What I liked about it is his feet always looked like they were doing all right. And the problem with some of our past tackles, man, is that their feet get going one way, their upper body gets going a different way, and they're just like falling down and different things. So even if he didn't see the guy he was supposed to pick up or switch off, those are the things that I like to see. Is that his body? He looked like an athlete that was good enough of an athlete to play tackle in the long run. Now, for me, the scary thing was is Larson got just made a fool of in a couple of plays. Where the guy said like, "Where's your base at?" And it was the Bears guy or something talking about it, and I think too. That shows us how important it was for Paradis to be signed. Yeah,
Paradis was imperative, if I should say so myself. Shout out to Nick Montiero for dropping the $5 love bomb in the chat. Appreciate you, brother. It's one of those scenarios where center is really the most underrated and probably the most important of the offensive line positions, because not only, are they the first line of defense in front of your quarterback, but it's also the job of your center to call protections and tell your quarterback, what linebackers coming in or whatever. You always see Ryan Khalil when he was here pointing things out. And Cam Newton always talked about how Ryan Khalil always had his back in that regard. So signing Matt Paradis and having a good center right in the middle. In my opinion, that might still be the best free agency move that we made this offseason, man. That's the most important. It's literally the centerpiece of your offensive line. It's important. I'm at the point where I feel we have enough depth on our offensive line and our defensive line to the point where when the preseason is over, we should have a good look at what we have going into the opener on just about every level, because everyone's playing meaningful snaps.
10 Tizzy's on fire in the chat room saying he wants that 2015 Cam busting nuts, making babies, winning games. And he went on to say this is because Ice School seconded me. He said Larson got destroyed. And 10 goes, he got blown up so bad, we picked up a center off the waiver right after. It was, yeah. And the thing that we were like, we played like 8 games with, or, we've played with Larson for stretches in the past. Now,
yeah. And he was another guy that was good for a little while in 2017. And then
he's a role player.
Yeah, just a role player. He's not anything special. And that's why I'm genuinely hoping that he's not a starter. I don't want him at guard, or I know he's not going to be at center because that's where Matt Paradis is going to be. But I don't want Larson starting anywhere. It's either going to be Van Roten or Darrell Williams or maybe even Greg Little. But that's a whole nother discussion.
Now, one of the things though about Nova's call is he did bring up is let's talk about momentarily this backup quarterback situation. Cody, last week we talked about, and I think it was on our show. I don't know if it was on the radio when I was discussing, but who's the backup quarterback option for this team? And I kept saying I would like for it to be Will Grier, because then that shows Cam, developing guy. Let's hope that this doesn't go to the point where we need Will Grier. But, some of the local radio stations are out there talking about this, is that they thought that the quarterback play was questionable enough to warrant the question, or to beg the question. If these guys don't progress in the next couple of weeks fast enough, it should be getting a veteran guy who's got experience in the NFL. Should that be on your radar? How do you feel after that? I didn't think it was that putrid looking from the quarterbacks, but Will Grier looked like a rookie. It was his first game. When do we start worrying? Is this a worry? What's is the answer on the roster?
I'm not really worried at all. I think these things take time. I think people don't know this about Kyle Allen. One point in time, Kyle Allen was the #1 high school quarterback in all of America in 2014. Like, Kyle Allen was the shit. And then he went to Texas A&M, and a bunch of different things happened, and he never ended up really starting anywhere. Now, I don't know necessarily what happened with him, but the guy has the talent. He has the ability to do it. And I think Will Grier does too. Listen, I scouted almost every quarterback available in this last draft, and Will Grier, to me, was one of the better quarterbacks in the draft. So I'm not, I think we're in a good position. I don't think there's anything that we need to react off of. I don't know about you, Tony Dunn, but I damn sure don't want to spend more money than we have to on a player that's not going to see the football field. We have young talent. It's incumbent upon our coaches to now develop that young talent into the kind of players that can step in if Cam Newton's not available.
I think we got enough talent.
Yeah.
And that is that really, honestly, who is a guy that would deliver much more than these two fellas?
Cue the Kaepernick.
Cue the Colin Kaepernick stuff. But at the same time, for me, man, it's just this is Cam Newton's team. If we're talking anything more than one game, some snaps, some other guys on the team are going to have to come through and really help that young quarterback. I think I'm with you. I feel okay here. And I feel okay, too, if we had to make a hard cut and it was still Will Grier that was just a backup quarterback. And we were like, it's going to hurt if he goes in, but we'll have to get through it. Now, let's go on to part 2 of Nova Black's call.
Okay, guys, it's Nova Black again. I'm about to speed through the rest of my takeaways from this first preseason game.
They've been great so far.
Right.
I can't wait.
The 3-4 pass rush, the 3-4 defense, that pass rush is nasty. But the linebackers, they struggle with the run fits. And I've seen that as far as the gaps and stuff like that between the tackles. And a couple of plays broke loose on us. The 4-3 pass rush is pretty good. It's looking good. They collapse in the pocket. It makes blitzing easy for the linebackers and nickel corners floating around in the box. With the defensive end, like I said with Marquise Haynes, they struggle setting the edge on the run plays. And the wide receivers look pretty good. And the guys, playing on punt return look pretty good. The secondary was solid. I think we still going to need to find that help at nickel corner. Rashawn Golden, he made a couple plays, made a statement out there. You see him with the peanut punch and all of that, and what was almost a sack. I think overall, the performance in the preseason was better than what I expected, better than what I've seen in a long time. And we can't forget the rookie kicker kicking the 55-yarder, man. Come on, for a rookie, yeah, that's his first big-time kick in the NFL. Yeah, man, that's pretty dope. Anyway, that's all I wanted to drop on you guys with my few takeaways from this doggone first preseason game. I hope to see things get better and the first team in the next preseason game with Buffalo. Keep pounding.
Keep pounding Nova Black. How do you not love Nova Black, man? Nova Black, he comes in and brings the energy every single time. And my man brought the Brian Burns pick live from the stadium during the draft party that we did. Shout out to big homie Nova Black, man. Listen, I echo everything my brother just said. Man, listen, I'm pumped. Nova, I share that exact same sentiment on this football team, man. I'm so pumped about this defense, about the young talent on the football team. Man, Nova knows what he's talking about, baby.
That he brought the fire tonight.
He always does.
He does. And, you're right, though, is the point that he's making here remarkably insightful to the end, even with the kicker. Way to go out there and show them what's up in your first ever opportunity. Kicking with a little bit more confidence after starting and having a rough day. His first day in training camp has just gotten better since then, Ron Rivera said. To me, one of the interesting things about the call, Cody, was he said the wide receivers look pretty good and then moved on quickly. And I'll tell you why, because we didn't play anybody.
Yeah.
We didn't play any of the wide receivers who were going to be playing on Sundays this season. I didn't even know at one point in watching this team on offense, I was wondering if they stopped on the way to Chicago and just picked up dudes. I have not heard Minkin's name the entire training camp.
Wait, who?
Minkin.
I've never heard the name ever. What are you talking about?
Minkin played like a ton of snaps at wide receiver. He was the one. He was fielding punts. Yeah, some guy named Minkins. I've never heard of him. I don't know.
He's on the Panthers.
Yeah. There's Aldrick Robinson was out there was getting some plays. You saw Terry Godwin. Yeah, Terry Godwin. I think Godwin looked amazing on the punt on the punt returns. He was just so fast.
I think he did, which was kind of weird because he didn't run very fast at the combine. But some guys are just quicker than they are fast. If that makes sense, it doesn't. But it's a saying that's a scouting jargon kind of. But yeah, a lot of people were impressed with our boy Terry Godwin. Cam has been practicing with them too. Before the preseason, he was a part of the team that went out to California to train with Cam. So I think that Terry, I would put him over Aldrick Robinson to make the football team right now.
Yeah, I'm talking nobodies, guys that even on defense, they were throwing in dudes who I had never even heard of at times. And I feel like we watch it a little too close. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we're going to be excited about one of these Cinderella stories, you would think we would be the one that noticed it. But I'm telling you, there's guys on this team who are just fluff.
Yeah, no, and listen, that's right now the NFL is in the phase where everyone's trying to make a football team. It doesn't even matter what football team they're on. They're just hoping they get picked up somewhere. I mean, even if you're on the practice squad, you're making like $400,000 a year. I mean, just on the practice
that much, but yeah, it's a good amount. And you're right,
it's a chunk of change.
It's like $4,000 a week. Yeah,
it's good money, and you get a chance to prove yourself next year, and you might be called up and you be able to play. crazier things have happened. So
is that 10 Tizzy says I thought it was great to see all the 2s and 3s, or maybe even 3s and 4s, but I think that's so great because we didn't even we didn't play hardly any of the starters, and that's exciting to me.
And we were fairly dominant throughout. I mean, other than one touchdown drive, our defense, from the first quarter to the fourth, even our backups did a pretty damn good job stifling their offense.
All right, I think we got one more cat call, and then we got a little bit more show to go.
Hey, y'all. How y'all doing? Hey, it's been a while. Y'all know who this is. It's G Cavassier.
The man, the
Cody?
myth.
What's up, Professor? What's up, the freaking Puerto Rican? How y'all doing? It's been a minute. Hey, I'm going to keep this short and simple, man. I know y'all seen, last week's, little game they had or whatever, the Panthers versus the Bears. And to me, I'm excited.
Yeah, you can barely call it a game. It's like exhibition.
I got 2 words, man. Brian Burns. Brian Burns.
People are excited.
That damn boy showed me something. I know it was this preseason and everything like that, but still, that dude looked nice as hell.
Cody told y'all.
And, the damn safety, man, Golston, whatever, man. You know what I'm saying? Hey, that dude came through and,
after a ton of criticism,
incomplete
too.
Pass. I don't give a damn what nobody says, man. That was a damn fumble.
That's what I thought.
I don't give a damn. They cheated my man out of that shit, man. But that boy is showing some heart, man, because y'all looked online, because now we got, Trey Boston that came back, Tar Heels, you know what I'm saying? He didn't came back, man, and, hey, now to put a little fire up underneath his daggone ass, man. I really, really think the 3-4 defense, and they're going to switch it up a little bit. I really, really do believe we're going to be in the top 10, the best D in the NFL. I really, 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 really see that shit happening. And Brian Burns is going to him and Marquise Haynes, forgot about him. The boy's about to cause some serious commotion in the South. Y'all give me your takes on that, and always remember, man, keep pounding.
Man, G, we are excited alongside with you. Is that I have been trying to hold back my excitement on Brian Burns, not because of disbelief, but just because you don't want to overdo your expectations, but we're managing our expectations. We are not managing our excitement. Boy, it's awesome. Cody, you've been on the Brian Burns train from day one, from moment one, before it was even a locomotive that had any gasoline in the engine. Brian Burns, man, Brian Burns, the call line has just been going on and on and on about it.
Can't you feel the excitement, man? I mean, listen, everyone in the calls and in the chat room, man, they're loving the 3-4 defense. They're loving some Brian Burns. And, yeah, man, listen, I'm proud that I got to show you all the C3 Panther faithful, some Brian Burns before the Panthers drafted him. So that way you got to be a little bit excited beforehand. I love scouting players. Brian Burns is special, man. That type of agility from the defensive line position while being able to do both. I mean, God, the man has so much potential to be an incredible player, and you're already starting to see flashes of it. Man, it's an exciting time to be a Panther fan, Tony Dunn. There's a lot to be excited about. It feels like we're going to have a special season.
I think he raises a point with Rashawn Golden in the heart. You like to see this is that we've done a lot of dumping on Rashawn Golden, and this podcast has seen, people question if he's going to work out. The Panthers made a move to go and pad that secondary a little bit more, understanding that it just wasn't ready to put all your eggs in the Golden basket. But he does bring a point, is Golden's not quitting right now. He's going out there. If that's maybe what you need in a backup player. I mean, we didn't want him to be a backup, but if he is, you don't want him to have thin skin and quit.
Yeah, and like I said, we might not have a world beater at every single position, but I don't know about you, Tony. I feel better about our depth at most positions than I have in a long time. Like, I feel like we're deep in a lot of areas that matter, and areas that we haven't been deep at in the past.
Well, yeah, the wide receiver is electric at this point, and defensive end, it's just like is we have a spoils of riches at this point. it feels like we went from a defensive that Joe described as slow last year to one where we got so many playmakers. It's crazy. And you know what? I'd rather have those playmakers on the defensive line than I would in the secondary. So I am loving the idea of us getting 60 sacks this season. That speaks to me. That's what I want to hear. That's going to cause turnovers. That's what happened in 2015 when we went to the Super Bowl. Those are the types of things you can do that help your offense get good field position, put them in places to win, and really terrorize quarterbacks. Because that's the problem. Our quarterbacks against us last year, they didn't even have to be that good. They just stood and waited till somebody got open.
Yeah, and you even mentioned you would prefer to have a better pass rush in the backfield, but I even feel like, and I said this earlier, our defensive backfield is in a great position because they're going to be able to make plays on the football because our defensive line is able to get home on a routine basis. So now you have players like Dante Jackson with that kind of dynamic playmaking ability to be able to make plays on the football. Trey Boston, Trey Boston at free safety. Eric Reid, that's another linebacker on the field.
I just don't think the depth in the secondary, it's rounded. I think you're right. We got the most well-rounded secondary we've arguably ever had at this point if guys continue to play like they have in the past.
And I like Cockrell. And I like there's a few other people on this team that Rashawn Golden, he might not be the best, but serviceable depth.
At this point, I'm confident in saying this is the most talented roster that I've felt we've had at this point. Now, I'm not saying they're going to be the best team. I don't know, because a lot of it is how the ball bounces. Are you able to persevere? Do you come together and gel as a team? There's things, it's not just talent, but we really have some talent that we are not accustomed to. Now, let's continue on. Thanks for listening to C3 Panthers Podcast. Be sure to subscribe, smash the thumbs up button, support. Follow on Twitter at @cat_chronicles. Call into the Cat Calls line anytime throughout the week. The number is 252-228-5098. A couple of outside stories in the news, starting with some big names out there, problems. And how about the Texans may be shopping Jadeveon Clowney to trade him because of the fear. They have had to watch Matt Khalil, and he still sucks.
Terrible.
And it's almost like they're saying bless his heart out there in Houston. They're like, not for not trying. Like, he's trying his hardest, and he's awful. He's getting roasted. They're wanting to trade potentially for him, which brings us to another story in the NFL. Trent Williams will never play for the Washington Redskins again. He's announced it. He's questioned the ethics of their medical staff and some different things like this. Cody, you hear the news of Clowney and Trent Williams. What do you hear? What do you think about these stories?
So a lot of you know that I was doing some work for drafttech.com. I still am as the Panthers analyst. I also picked up the Houston Texans because why not? So I'm also the analyst for the Houston Texans. So I've been following this a little bit closely as well. And they don't have a left tackle. They flat out don't have a left tackle. By the way, let me just clarify. I'm a Panthers fan. I just picked up the Texans because it's more money. I'm going to keep pounding until I die. But
you're scouting. There's nothing wrong with scouting.
But with that said, they have a very, very bad situation at left tackle. And Deshaun Watson was the most hit quarterback in the NFL last season. So, I mean, a lot of people were kind of floating around Jadeveon Clowney to Carolina. I saw one story that said
we don't need it anymore. That would have made sense 4 months ago.
And some people were saying send Darrell Williams over to Houston and, let that and then bring Jadeveon over here. But then you have to pay him a whole bunch of money.
Well, you got to pay the franchise tag at the very minimum.
Yeah, well, it's a non-exclusive franchise tag, so someone has to make him an offer. So we have to offer him more money than they're willing to pay him before it can come over to us.
Right. Okay, but you trade straight up trade him? And then you would trade him on the tag.
Well, yeah, but the problem is he wouldn't play for us because he's not going to play for Houston until he gets a deal. So unless we have a deal in store for him, he's not going to play for us either. He's not.
I don't know why the podcast wants to quit on us tonight. He's trying to force us off. All right. So then there's Trent Williams.
Yeah.
Now this is the one I would not touch with a 10-foot pole right now.
Why is that?
He wants a ton of money. Now, I don't know. I just don't know. I mean, if he's calling in the question how they've handled his injuries in the past, are we talking about injuries that are issues right now? Are they injuries that were just past injuries? I know they said one was like a growth on his head, and I guess it was like cancerous or something. And they were like, oh, it's nothing. And he had like Lyme disease or something probably.
It's a weird one, though. They're saying Trent Williams refuses to play for Washington if they have any of the medical staff on that they had last season going into this year. I mean, that's a different kind of FU to a football team. You don't hear that very often, that someone's pissed off with the training staff. Wow. I don't know, man. The Redskins are a terrible organization. Yeah. They really are. Their owner's terrible, too. But, yeah, I wouldn't touch Clowney or Trent Williams, and I think that's a testament to what Marty Hurney has done to this roster.
Waited too long. These teams waited too long to trade, and other teams have made plans at this point. You start offering these guys up for peanuts a couple of months ago, we would have been takers. Now the question is that if Trent Williams says he's not going to come and play, he's not going to play for them with single down, and we get him for a 4th round pick. I
mean, for a 4th round pick. I don't know.
Even if it's a 1-year rental, dude.
Yeah.
Like that's it. It's just a 1-year thing.
Listen,
Burn
man,
it.
You don't have to convince me to protect Cam Newton. Okay, that's a promise. I don't care. I mean, if you're bringing in a good player, I'm here for it. I just don't think.
I worry about both of these guys are injury prone. And maybe that's an outsider, but I always hear about them playing through injury, being nicked up. It's not they perform. So I just don't know if it's the best fit for us right now. Other story, Antonio Brown distracting with his helmet because of his frozen cryogenically busted feet. He's having crazy meltdowns at this point. I'm trying to think of, are there any other outside stories that were, anything to Graham Gano's leg soreness?
Yeah, so I kind of think so. And Nova Black even mentioned, I think it was Nova, that we have a kicker on the team that hit a 55-yard field goal.
And his name is like Sly or something like that.
And a lot of people are kind of high on him. And there's still not a lot of love. And I feel like you're one of these people, Tony Dunn. And I don't blame you, man. There's a lot of people that don't have a lot of love for Graham Gano because of some missed field goals in his time. And, hey, I understand. But I don't know. I'm of the mindset that we have a guy right now that I don't know. I would feel very uncomfortable getting rid of Graham Gano, who we know is at least serviceable and will make some kicks that we have to have, rather than a guy that's kind of new, doesn't have a ton of film. It's a gamble.
Well, we got to see what he does. If he goes through the preseason, he's just lights out. You've got to look back at those moments that you said, hey, we let Butker go, and look what that did for us. Number 2 is that Graham Gano is expensive, but if you cut him, you don't save any money this year. You won't get any savings till next year, and it's not a ton.
There's no point.
Number 3 is, I think here's my idea, is that Ron Rivera's really figured out the issue with Graham Gano. Graham Gano stinks when there is zero pressure in preseason and all of this, when he feels comfortable. Now, he does stink under pressure too because he misses a ton of kicks there. But maybe this is way of Ron Rivera's just keeping Graham Gano motivated and on his toes and working as hard as he can. And then there was one other question in the chat room. They said, what'd you think about the Nike? This is John Kidco Barrera. What'd you think about the Nike uniforms? The players love these uniforms. The Panthers have been playing with like some old school sweaters, it turns out. Ones that are like this, where they've got these big sewn on. They're heavy. You know what I'm saying? Now they've gone to the Nike, they're thinner material, and they are also crazy weird because did you see Curtis Samuel and they grabbed him by his shirt when he was on the kickoff return or something like that, and it was 9 feet long. They were able.
And so I did notice, and I remember when I was watching the game, I thought to myself, man, the uniforms do look a little bit different. I just couldn't put a finger on it. Like there was something new about them, but the players love them. Yeah, man. Listen, I'm into it. I kind of think that with David Tepper, I don't know how extreme it'll be, but I think it's within the realm of possibility that the Panthers probably get some new uniforms within the next few years. Not that there's anything wrong with the ones that we have now. We have a bunch of different cool combinations too that I love. The all black that we wore last year against New Orleans and Detroit. That's the best uniform.
I don't want to bring it back until we get the black helmet. I don't want to see it again. It's cursed. First of all, we don't ever win.
It is, man. That's all.
It's cursed. We need the black helmet. The black helmet will undo the bad juju on that.
I agree with that. I do want a black helmet, but dude, those black outfits are cold as hell, man.
Yeah, they're awesome, but they'd be awesome if they didn't come with a loss and they had a black helmet with it.
We've won with
okay, tons of stuff to talk about. So much more to go, but that's all I think we're going to do for tonight. We're going to have to jump out of here, but we're going to get some Ice Up picks in. Thanks so much for the support in the YouTube chat room. You guys have been fantastic in this show over the last 6 years. You guys are just rocking and rolling each and every week. We appreciate your support. Thank you for all the donations tonight. It really helps us to continue to bring you to pay for the website dues every year. And then third, you guys are the bomb. So Cody, who you want to here? Actually, I got something for you. It's very small.
Okay.
There's your ice up. There's your ice cubes. What do you got for me on an ice up pick?
So before I do this, let me just say, almost every Tuesday, I'm struggling to to pick my ice up. Because there's so many things that I want to ice up that just frankly aren't suitable for a football podcast. You and I have pushed the boundaries before, but I get slammed on Twitter whenever I bring up other shit. So there's a lot of people in the world that deserve the ice up. But right now, I'm going to keep it football related. And dude, Jimbo Fisher just needs to shut his mouth. Jimbo Fisher just needs to shut his mouth. Jimbo Fisher was the head coach at Florida State University, then went on to Texas A&M. And listen, Dabo Swinney has been destroying everything Jimbo Fisher does for the past few years. But then he had the gall to say that having coached in both the ACC and the SEC, I can say that the SEC is definitely a much tougher schedule. In regards to Clemson, I can say that they were honestly the 4th or 5th toughest team that we faced all season. Jimbo, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? We won the national championship and then went on the road and beat Texas A&M in their own home, and we're the 4th or 5th toughest team you played? Dude, it's just a salty attitude. It's a loser mindset. He's going to get destroyed every year by Alabama. To Jimbo Fisher, ice up, son.
Ice up. My ice up pick, I got a pre-ice up pick. Like you said, it's so hard to pick them all the time. And you're talking about in the sports world, too, and there's plenty to ice up there. My initial ice up pick, or my pre-ice up pick, just continues to go with the people who say Andrew Luck is this greatest thing since sliced bread and better than Cam Newton. And Rich Kingston, I'm interested in what you also, this is shout out to Rich Kingston in England. I need you to also DM me your mailing address and your t-shirt size, those two things. But the he was talking about what Andrew Benoit, you got a little salty with them. Will Brinson was talking, Cody came after you, came back. I liked your response though. I thought your response is that, it was a little aggressive.
Yeah,
it may have been a little rude. It was, but it was true.
Yeah, but it was true.
But this whole crap about the Luck thing is somebody I saw today again was like, if you can't see that Andrew Luck's a better passer than Cam Newton, then I can't help you. And first I was like, well, you put passer in quotations every time, these caveats, caveat this, caveat that. But I don't even care. Take the caveat, leave the caveat. At the end of the day, Cam Newton's had a better career. So I don't care what you say. He's had a head and shoulders above these guys in just the accomplishments of his career. So whatever it takes. So yeah, I don't see what you're saying. And no, you can't Explain it to me. I'm so sick of the Luck stuff. And it turns out, look, he might be hurt again. Where he isn't playing. But my real ice up pick has to go to the NFL. And the NFL, the ice up pick goes because this Eric Reid already being drug tested 3 times randomly. This is a vindictive vendetta. Unless Eric Reid is manufacturing this, unless he is lying, right? And that these really in the frequency of these tests isn't true. It's clear this is not random. It's regular. And to me, that storyline, they're smart enough to know this, is that if he does get popped for the littlest thing, is the storyline that they over tested him won't last as long as the storyline with the anti-Reid people will, about him being a fake, a fraud, or something like that. So to the NFL, like at this point, just take your lumps, guys. Let's move on, and maybe not move on. I'm not telling Eric Reid to move on. What I'm saying is that, look, continue. Gosh, at some point, man, don't be a dick.
Yeah, at some point, don't be. That's hard for some people, because some people, believe it or not, are just dicks.
Yeah, it turns out the NFL drug testing one is one of them. All right, that's the C3 podcast brought to you by Carolina.
Let me interrupt you real quick, because there's something that I feel that deserves to be in the show that we forgot to put up. This could be a double ice up pick.
Oh yes, thank you. That was the third one. Please.
Bro, upward Devin Funchess is out here struggling, yo. The struggle is real.
Look at this poor fella. He caught the ball and the man took it out of his hands.
Yeah, Rockson, Colts drafted him in the 2nd round.
Dude, he stole the ball from him. Like I snatched something from my kids.
And listen, man, it's a good thing. Devin Funchess didn't go the Kelvin Benjamin route and want to shit talk and put blame on the quarterback that was throwing him the football. But hey, good luck to Andrew Luck, because now that's your wide receiver. Maybe
ice up.
Yeah,
ice up, Devin Funchess. All right. Thank you for bringing that. We needed that on the show. And bro, your salad game is your lettuce hands. That's what Rich texted me. He said he got lettuce hands. Look at that.
Yeah.
You don't got no strong man hamburger hands. All right, you're listening to C3 Panthers podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions. We're really rocking and rolling, and we haven't even played a real game of football yet. Like G said, whatever that game was, we still love it. We still talking about it. I don't know what that shit mean, but it sound good, right? Cody, where can they find you on Twitter till Tuesday?
You can find me at Cody Lack, CODYLAC. Come for the football, stay for all the other dumb bullshit that I post. If you really want to go in deep with me, Twitter is the place to do it. And yeah, man, that's it.
At cat_chronicles on Twitter, Carolina Cat Chronicles on Facebook. And I think that's it, man. Hit us up at Gmail, CarolinaCatChronicles@gmail.com. Plenty of stuff coming up down the pipe. And be sure to check us out next Tuesday. Keep pounding.
Keep pounding, y'all.